Hey guys, I'm Jacob and you're watching the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. This is a Christian conservative prepping and survival channel with a bit of military tactics and background. If you'd like to support this channel, please check out the description box below. We have my websites, beachandtactical.com, where I sell handmade rifle slings, custom to order, and Exodus knife and tool. Our knives are made in the USA and are made to be practical. All right, this month, for the month of April, our sponsors is Black Bear Custom Kydex, because I love his Kydex work. So you can check him out in the link below for the month of April. We have a Patreon, we have affiliate links. Also, check out Kentuckiana Gunworks for locally made gun oils and grease. They're absolutely fantastic. And you can use the coupon code TPBO for a discount. Check that out. Let's get you right back to the content. So today's a whole vibe. This is the first impressions review on the Fobos knives Tier 1 BC. That is Bushcraft, and man, is this knife absolutely exciting. The reviewing process of this knife will be a little uncommon because it's not just my first Fobos, it is also my first knife in MagnaCut. And if you haven't been living under a rock, everybody's talking about MagnaCut. It would appear through testing so far that MagnaCut's similar to like an S35 VN, but with more toughness and corrosion resistance. You may have to forgive my goats during this review because they're absolutely irritating. It's their strongest attribute. Anyways, you've seen this at work a bit. We're going to talk about the blade, the handle, and the sheath. I will say that the sheath on this knife is actually what motivated me to talk about sheaths more often in my reviews, so we will get to that when we get to it. Starting off with the blade here, we've got a lot going on. This ferro notch absolutely throws fire. It's fantastic. We've got some jimping, I'll count that as the blade, jimping here. I use this section here as a thumb ramp when I'm up on the choil. Speaking of the blade and the choil, that is a large choil. And then we've got this grind on the back of the knife here. So this to me is reminiscent of like a Persian spear. So what we have here is the knife gets thicker here and then gets thinner again. So the idea with a Persian spear, a tip of this design, as far as I understand it, is once you penetrate past this point, the rest of your penetration is more easy. I like knives that have a tip like this. I think it's very interesting, aesthetically appealing. Now, one of the best things about this knife is not just the knife itself, but this piece of paper. You see, this piece of paper has detail listed that I've never seen on another production knife. So we have the edge thickness listed as well as the angle of the bevel. I think that is incredibly clever. If I didn't already mention it, it's a high saber grind. The edge thickness, a slightly thick 0.035 if memory serves. However, with the 20-degree bevel of the micro bevel, I think that it is perfectly suited to a large variety of tasks. In the sheet that comes with the knife, they recommend 22 degrees for hard use, 17 degrees for more sliciness. I think if you maintain a proper edge on this, unless you wanted it to be your go-to kitchen knife, I don't think you're going to need extra sliciness. I also don't think with the toughness of MagnaCut that you're going to need to go to a 22-degree edge. As you go more obtuse in your edge angles, your strength exponentially increases, but your slicing capability exponentially decreases. And I think that we are at a perfectly acceptable all-around edge angle on this knife. And since it is in MagnaCut, it should hold an edge for a very long time. So you keep a proper edge on this thing, it's going to keep that proper edge. It should, and it shouldn't be a concern. Moving on to the handle, I recently critiqued Bushcraft in their BSH3 for the height on the rear of the handle being too short. I wanted a little more height on that knife. The handle at the rear of this near the pommel looks similar to that design. However, with the thickness of the handle and the overall geometry here, by the way, my goats are literally headbutting each other and fighting right behind the camera. It's a little distracting and annoying. It works well. I haven't had the same hand fatigue that I experienced with the Bushcraft on the Fobos. So I don't personally have an issue there. Maybe we could get a little more height back there, not necessarily for retention, but for that pinky, for comfort. But for me and my hand, it's not necessarily a requirement at all. And a lot of people are really a fan of this handle, so I think for most people it's not an issue. And most people who handle this knife are going to love the handle. Look at the attention to detail in the machining on the handle. No rough edges, a lot of attention everywhere on this handle. It feels your first sensation when you put your hand on this knife, you automatically know, you're like, man, this is a premium knife. Definitely a fan. Now, I do have a little bit of discomfort when choking up on the choil, and a little bit of discomfort at the jimping. I wish this jimping stopped right about here for the top of your hand and was flat here. Now, again, with attention to detail, look at how the jimping is rounded and finished. I mean, it is just so nice. However, I am a thumb over user. Not everybody is. A lot of people are a monkey fist user, but I do my thumb on the spine. And so when doing my constant pressure feather sticks, I do find that to be a little bit bothersome. Not a game changer. It's not bad jimping, and I have used some bad jimping. It's not bad jimping, but it does get a little bit old. I'll talk about that more in just a second. When I choke up on the choil, which I love the choil. I'm kind of a choil guy a lot of the times. But my thumb, I mentioned I kind of use this here for my thumb. I wish we had a little bit more length here, about up to about here, to get a little bit more comfort there. And gripping that choil like I do, it's a little bit narrow at the front there. I do get a little bit of discomfort from prolonged use there. With that being said, the only time that I use a knife in that way is when doing feather sticks. If I'm carving something down, I'm going to use a little bit more pressure, taking larger, if I'm planing something, I should say. I'm probably going to do a monkey grip, but I don't do that a lot. That might be for a trap or something. And for everything else, I use one grip for a much shorter duration. So it doesn't bother me. So the whole package, guys, talk about a absolute premium production knife. I can't tell you how many custom makers would be overjoyed to have this level of fit and finish and attention to detail in a knife. Seeing this in a production knife, absolutely fantastic. It doesn't stop there. This leather sheath, I opted for the leather sheath. This knife was sent to me by Fobos for review, by the way. I've known about them for a long time. I've known the owner for quite a while. And so I opted for the leather sheath because Kydex has become so mainstream that I enjoy getting into leather a little bit more because I've got so much Kydex. I still absolutely love Kydex, and I was surprised to see how far leather has come here. This sheath is built like a Kydex sheath. It's completely modular. This back plate and dangler can be removed with these 2 screws through the eyelets. These scout straps can be removed through screws, 4 screws on the eyelets. The ferrule rod holder can be removed through that single screw. You can set this up how you want it. The retention is fantastic. If you get this clip here on, it's not coming off. And very importantly, especially on the back side, these are pull the dot fasteners. I was a little concerned when I saw only 1 button on the back to hold your dangler. I'm usually going to use this as a dangler. I was like, man, I could see that popping off. However, in using either, this also makes it adjustable. So you can do a high ride here, which I usually prefer, or you can use this button, lengthen it out, and you can dangle it down a bit lower. Just a lot of attention to detail on this sheath. No issues, and I don't suspect that we are going to have any issues. Now, one thing I will say, when you've got a modular sheath like this, my screw for the ferrule rod holder here was, I could loosen it with my fingers. If you have a modular sheath like this, if you have a part of your sheath that you are not going to remove, ever, red Loctite it. I'm never going to take this ferrule rod holder off. I like it a lot. So this is red Loctited. It can still move, it can still swivel, it can still rotate, but the screw is not going to come off. The rest of the screws, like for these straps, have a whole lot of threads in them. I might use a blue Loctite for that, since they may be removed. But I'll probably keep them all on there. In fact, the only part that I might take off would be if I knew I was... Kimber, do you mind? If I knew I was only going to scout carry this, I might take the vertical... Stop it, or I'm pushing you off the cliff. I will. I'll push you right off the cliff. Okay. I've lost my train of thought. I have no idea what I was saying, so we're just going to keep on here. As we wrap this up, guys, I know people are going to be complaining about the price point. The price points are getting harder and harder to hit. Mora is selling a handmade knife, full tang scale, that's nothing like this, not even close, at $280. So this product here, I think, is very competitively priced for what you're getting. I'm very excited about it. We're going to beat on this knife to see what's up with the knife and with Magna Cut. I'm really excited for my long-term review of this knife. A link to Fobos will be in the description box below, guys. You're not going to want to miss it. He does some fantastic colors. My battery's about to die.